I need to really update you in detail on this. Now we are finalizing the impact assessment of the different options for the revision of legislation, this legislation. You understand, we all understand, and you have said it, that this is really a very important legislation for all citizens and patients. So there's a lot of public consultation going on, and we're working on that in order to be able to come forward with that in the first quarter of 2023. We need to also address issues that have bottlenecks and hamper innovation, and we need to adapt this framework. This is the big challenge, is to find the balance to achieve this while also making it flexible. And this is why we are constantly working, and we need to have strong incentives, especially in the area of unmet medical needs. And we need to try and reduce the administrative burden and adapt our regulatory processes to take into account technological progress. There are different models now under consideration to ensure that pharmaceutical companies will remain within the EU. We need a strong pharmaceutical industry within the EU. But in all tested models that we have used, all innovative medicines will continue to receive a predictable period of regulatory protection. Now, the regulatory protection in the EU today amounts for up to 11 years from marketing authorization. This is among the most generous in the world. In other countries, it's about 6 to 8 years. So we're looking at this as well in order to be able to move forward. Access and availability of medicines. Member states have this very high on the agenda, as does the European Parliament, and we are going to be working on this and especially focusing on the areas where at the moment there are no treatments available. And when it is about giving incentives to industry, it's also about ensuring that we give incentives to industry, but we also expect access to medicines to be improved. So we need to aim at inequalities of access disappearing from the EU, and this is our ambitious proposal. On affordability and medicines and the high prices, medicines are important if patients can actually have access to them. Patients can't have access to them, they don't serve their purpose. So you all know that pricing and reimbursement remains the responsibility of member states. But what we're trying to do now is, first of all, to facilitate the competition between, so we have an earlier entry of biosimilar and generics, and also we're working with the member states to ensure more cooperation and an exchange of best practices between them, so we can come forward with a different way for them to look at their national reimbursing policies. MEP Weiss, rare diseases, technical work is ongoing. I think you asked a specific question on if a change is intended, on the number, no, it is not. I had a meeting also with the relevant stakeholders last week, and I was very clear, but work is still ongoing on a lot of these issues. The way we define rare diseases, what this will mean, there's a lot of complexity, and we need to try and get this as right as possible so as not to do something that in fact will impact negatively. While we're trying to help patients with rare diseases, we need to really calibrate this. So a lot of work is ongoing, and we're trying to merge all proposals. You also spoke about whether in the EU we're falling behind in the competitiveness. I've spoken a lot about the regulatory protection and the strong pharmaceutical, but basically what we want is, with this legislation, not to put companies that are based in the EU at a disadvantage. And this has to be important for all of us. For obesity rates, we know they're increasing across Europe, And I agree with it. We need concerted action at all levels, and this needs to be horizontal. So we have this, looking at this through our Healthier Together initiative. We're looking at this through the issues to do with sustainable food systems. We're looking at this, Europe's Beating Cancer Plan, because all of it is relevant. And you have raised really important points, but I can assure you that it is a priority for us. AMR is part of what we're looking at for the pharmaceutical legislation, and we're looking at also how we can work this in terms of medicines, veterinary medicines use, and to look at ways to have measures to ensure the prudent use of antimicrobials